Hello.
Angela O'Hara. Thank you for being here. So I'm going to repeat a little bit of what I've just said. So the reason I've invited you here today is because you were a massive part of me developing this Luminaries Mindset initiative. When I joined Vodafone all those years ago, you weren't in the office very often, but when you were, your impact was felt, not just in the audit team, but across the whole of the Vodafone UK office. I think the ripple effect of your leadership was really positive. And the characteristics that I've come up with to describe a Luminaries Mindset is positivity, optimism, a desire to really connect and collaborate with others, but there's also this tenacity and realism to the leadership style as well, because you had an awful lot of grit to your leadership style, but you seem to do it with this kind of lightness and this fun as well, which really attracted me to you as a leader. So thank you for being here, especially on Alistair's birthday. Oh my goodness. So can you just talk a little bit to me about, where you get your inspiration from as a leader?
Where do I get my inspiration from as a leader? Wow. I think, I suppose it kind of comes naturally. It's not like I sort of role model myself particularly on anybody. I mean, I've worked with some really great people, but probably one of my favourite bosses, well, I've got two people who've been really great bosses. Most people don't like them or think they're really, haven't been good as well. So I guess part of it comes naturally, but it's driven by a desire to make things better, and you can't do it all by yourself. And so actually it's about getting people to go with you on the sort of journey. It's about encouraging them. It's surprising, actually. A lot of people, just need that bit of encouragement. And it's about not having to be like the boss who does all the answers. It's about creating opportunities for the people around you to shine and to showcase. And it's about not being afraid to have somebody who's more junior to you who will probably be more senior than you at some point in the future as well. Because that's great, right?
Amazing. I definitely felt that when we worked together, and that's all what this Luminaries idea is about. It's about lighting up other people and seeing the potential in someone else and then enabling that.
And leadership is really, really interesting, particularly at this point in my career as well, because I always wanted to find some sort of career that would give me the opportunity to be part of a leadership team and then to lead my own team. And so for me, the challenge once I fell into audit was to get to be the audit director. And so when I was at Vodafone, the question was, do I stay within Vodafone or do I look and try and be an audit director somewhere? And the opportunity at Johnson Matthey came about, so I got my audit leadership for a FTSE 100 company, yay! And that certainly wasn't easy, but you're part of the senior leadership team of the company, you've got the ability to hugely influence. And then you kind of do the 4 or 5 years and you think, well, what am I going to do next? I mean, I think for some people, that 4 or 5 years can extend on. But for me, it felt like time to do something new and to have a new challenge. And I think when you've got to a point where you want to get to, the difficulty is, what do I do next? Is success a bigger FTSE 100 role? Is it a smaller role in an organisation which is on a different trajectory? And I've found myself now in a finance director role, which technically is a sort of step down within the organisation, but I'm running this business that's over £3 billion, which is absolutely hilarious. And I don't find the need to be on the company sort of senior leadership team, because within our business, I'm a very significant player. I mean, we contribute 25-30% of the revenues to the entire company, so it's a pretty big role. And so for me, when you think about leadership, it's not necessarily where you are in the company. I think it's about what you can do, yes, and how you can influence others, and how you can make a difference. And yes, of course, I want to be in a leadership role because I like to be able to get my hands dirty and make things different. But it's about waking up in the morning with a big smile on your face.
Yes.
And just feeling energy.
And so why is making a difference important to you?
Ooh, why is making a difference important to me? I just find it very energising. Yeah. So I just, when things are moving, when things are changing, I just find myself with this huge energy to do more. And so you're like, right, you know, we can do this and we can do that and we can do that. And when things are going in the right direction, it's great.
Yes.
I mean, it can be pretty exhausting when things are not going well. And don't get me wrong, you know, we have had a very stressful time. But you know, you kind of think, okay, this is what we can control, this is what we can't control. If we focus on what we can control and make a difference in that space, we're just slowly chipping away and, yeah, feeling good.
Brilliant. So, you know, you've mentioned energy and like where you get your energy from, but then also how challenging it can be. So
yeah.
How do you maintain this positive, optimistic outlook and this energy?
How do I maintain it?
Yeah.
So I have a phenomenal partner.
Yes. Very supportive.
Very, very, very supportive. And to be fair, he has made it all happen. Yeah. So when I first went to Vodafone, so we both worked together at KPMG, and then we had Olivia, and I went to Vodafone. And when I got to Vodafone, it was really unchild friendly.
Right.
And so it was really difficult to do any sort of flexibility. There was no flexibility whatsoever. And so, you know, Alistair just said, do what you want to do, be happy, I'll be there to support you, and I'll be the primary childcare provider.
Wow.
So that kind of released me to basically sort of, you know, fulfill my career. And then even when I moved to Johnson Matthey, you know, Alistair is the one who basically flexed his career to be there for Olivia, to take her to school, to pick her up. So he's my real partner. He's my rock. He's what helps me free up the time so that I'm not distracted or drawn down or worrying about too many things that could be that distraction as well.
Yeah.
But family is important.
Yes.
Which is why I wasn't working today, because it's spending the day with Alistair as well. But no, he's great. He just says whatever you want to do, whatever makes you happy. So
that's really supportive,
yeah,
isn't it?
That's right.
So it sounds like Alistair's got this luminary mindset as well. So what are the characteristics that he has that enable him to support you in that way?
I think he's just got a heart of gold, really, in that he genuinely cares about people. And I think when people recognise that sort of, it's not about him, it's about the people around you. And so I think that's really, really important. You know, you never, you know, everything, it's never about you. I think it's always about the people around you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. So why, especially in the business and corporate context,
yes,
why is it important that people feel inspired?
Who wants to wake up in the morning and not have a big smile on their face, or get into the car and not want to sing? I mean, you know, well, some people like quiet in the car. I don't like quiet in the car. I like to sing and I like to dance as I go along the road. And so I think, you know, you've got to be really careful what corporate you go into. You've got to be really careful who you work around as well. And, you know, I remember at one stage, you know, saying to Alistair, I'm really not happy. You know, we need to do something and put a smile on our face. We need to find things that make us laugh. And you've got to go to work and have fun. It has to be some fun. You have to have a bit of a laugh. And,
Yes.
you know, it needs to be balanced. You know, you can't be too jovial. But I have been told that I do bring a bit of fun to the boardroom. So
Definitely. A bit of ba-ba-boom.
Yeah. You've just got to have it. You've got to have. You know, you can be with a really senior person, but you know, if you can build a rapport with that person and just have a bit of a, you know, I don't know, joke or laugh. You know, just inject something, a little bit of humour.
Yes.
I think it really makes a bit of difference, because everybody is a human being at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Even if they earn multi-millions of pounds, billions of pounds, they are a human being at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So what's possible? So if more businesses had leaders with this kind of mindset, what's possible?
Well, anything is possible at the end of the day. I mean, I think it's interesting, isn't it? It's how far do you push yourself? I mean, I like to have objectives that are real stretch objectives. So I think you've got to have an element of realism in terms of what you can achieve. But equally, I think you've got to believe that you can achieve that, and you can achieve even more than that as well. But it's, I think it's trying to identify the art of the possible. I remember when I bought my first house, I thought that, you know, I'd walk past these sort of, you know, detached houses, quite small detached houses, thinking one day I would have one of those. And today, not that everything is about materialism, this is just an illustration. We've got a beautiful house, and I never would have imagined that sort of thing would have been possible. So you have to, I think, translate that into the business environment. I suppose from a business environment, I didn't know when I started out where I would go. And so I think it's about looking for those opportunities and finding people who believe in you and support you, not being put off by a number of people who will tell you what you can and can't do at every stage of your career. And even if someone puts you down or puts you back, I think you go away and you focus on, actually, this is what I believe, this is what I believe I can do. I either need to go back and convince them of my potential, or actually I need to find a way where they don't block me. I find a way round. And so never let anybody tell you that you can't do something, because if you believe that you can, find people who'll support you, find people who'll believe you, and go and do it.
Awesome. So I noticed something in you very early on which really inspired me, which was this stillness, this calmness. And the environment we were working in could just be so crazy. I mean, most businesses have moments where things just, you know, politics and personalities, and especially in the department we were working in, you had some pretty challenging stakeholders to manage and deal with, but you were just so unfazed, completely unfazed. So tell me a bit more about that characteristic that you've got, and how you've developed that. And
I mean, that, you know, I'm not always calm.
No.
So I think that I always believe that there's a solution to the problem, and by panicking, or, you know, a lot of people overcomplicate things. So the one thing I'm always told is you just got this ability just to simplify everything down. Now, whether that's because of my tax background, because in order to make a difference, you've got to present something that's quite complicated in a very simple way so that somebody else can understand it. And so I guess that I've got, through this background, through this training, it's about knowing that there's always a solution, but what you need to do is to cut through all of the noise, all of the panic, all of the anxiety, simplify it down into all of the different scenarios, get all of the facts, get all of the different people, and you can't, there is a solution. It might not be the outcome that you wanted, but there is always an outcome that takes you forward in the right direction, albeit perhaps not where you thought you were going to go as well.
Amazing.
So that's for me, somebody came into my office yesterday, there's a complete panic. We've set up this business in Poland. It's all horribly complicated. We're not going to be able to do this, that and the other. So we're like, right, stop. Calm down. Let's go through everything very calmly. Let's look at all the scenarios. Right, we need to get more people in the room. We're just going to find a way through. We are going to be able to do this. It might not be the way everybody envisaged. We might be a little bit late to the table, but we're going to find a way. So that's it. Yeah.
So one of my sort of specialist area of coaching now is emotional intelligence coaching.
Yes.
And what you've just described is characteristics of someone with very high emotional intelligence, being able to just reality test something, calm people down and review the situation from a pragmatic perspective.
Yeah.
So why do you think it's important that businesses, especially in their leadership development, they should be focusing on technical training and intellectual competencies and all of the kind of nuts and bolts of how we do something and why we're doing it, but there's this emotional intelligence side to an organisation that seems to be sometimes often neglected or put down the hierarchy in terms of training and development. What do you think there's a need for businesses to focus a little bit more on educating their teams on how to manage their emotions, how to be more pragmatic in a stressful situation, how to...
Absolutely, but people feel very, very uncomfortable, don't they, about that? So, I think for some people love that and they thrive on it. But it's definitely something that a lot of people wouldn't sort of volunteer to do, because if I volunteer to do it, it suggests that I've got some sort of weakness.
Yes.
So I think it's absolutely very important. I think people are beginning to recognise it now, because we live in a world where stress levels are increasing really exponentially, really. Yeah. I think, we put a lot of stress on ourselves because we have so many expectations and we fill our life to the full. And it is important, I think, for people to recognise that. Yeah. So I think it's coming. And I think also the younger generation are also more demanding of it as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So these two, you said there were a couple of bosses that you really were inspired by.
Yes.
That not necessarily everybody else was. But tell me about them, their characteristics. What were the characteristics that inspired you? What did they have?
So I think, actually, do you know what? I think both of them really believed in me. And I mean, the first one, I guess, was she actually recruited me into Vodafone, and she's now a really close friend. Apparently she's really, really tough. But I guess I like high standards. So for me, when she was setting high standards, perhaps a lot of people found her very demanding, whereas actually I kind of thrive on that. The other person, I guess, as well, probably had very, very high standards. But he was really invested in making me a better person of myself. And the amount of time that he spent, preparing, helping me prepare for things, or running through a difficult conversation. So he was really supportive, and he was the one that I had a long conversation about whether to stay at Vodafone or whether to look for an external position. And both of them were really fun to be with at a social level as well. So you'd be really serious when you needed to be really serious, and then you could go out of work, you could have a drink, you could have a laugh, and then, tomorrow was another day. It was just, they knew how to switch off and be real people. So I suppose that's part of that as well. Being a real person, having a sense of fun, being able to laugh, and not taking themselves too seriously.